Hello again. We're reporting in from the den of musings. I think this is what I call it. What's changed? The colour. I went ahead and painted the room. It was feeling a little bit cold and moody and somber every time we sat in here, and I had the time, so I went out, bought some paint. It was French Grey by Farrow and Bull. Lovely colour. It's in the matte. The problem was this is like a kitchen slash like a cozy room now. So what colour can you choose which makes it feel inviting, warm and nice, but also not too warm and not too cold? So eventually I settled on like a green, because green's good. Also, we're cozying up with the orange furnishings, and Halloween is coming soon, so we've got the baby pumpkins. I've been carving them with my sister and her boyfriend, which has been fun. But today, I was just musing again with my journal, and I thought to talk about something that I've kind of been trying to, I guess, come to grips with in life, and that is your true self, and how it, in my experience, goes sort of into underground and subterranean places. Not physically, metaphorically, like subterranean being the unconscious mind, and places where you don't normally go, right? Your true self hides itself to be safer, because that's basically what I see it as, is when the self hides away for whatever reason, we can get into that a bit later, it goes there to be hidden and to not be seen, obviously, and again, that's to protect you from whatever was happening at the time, usually a childhood thing, but I guess it can be later on. And just a heads up, I'm not like a psychologist, it's like psychologist or psychiatrist. I'm just a guy, and I'm sat in, let's just call it a studio, in the cozy corner on a sofa, and I don't have my tea. I'll make that later, so I'm just rambling at this point. So what made me sort of think about this is that I think myself has kind of gone underground for a long time, and it did that because I assume, I don't know, that my upbringing was good, but not like better than or not perfect, right? It wasn't like secure by any means. There was always something happening which could mean annihilation for the self, not like physically, again, mentally, emotionally. So I always had to be on guard. Well, this is the point where you look back on your childhood, and I mean, if you click this video and even got this far, 5 minutes or whatever the mark is now, think for yourself here, what it is that you might have gone through that caused yourself to go underground, if it has. It might be that you're just normal, you're quite a normal person, and then you are your true self. But for me, it's not the case. I have felt not myself, well, ever since I was an adult, really. I think my who I am started emerging when I was early 20s. So I'm 25 now, but when I was 21, 22, that's when I started to like actually think for myself, and I wanted to go places, I wanted to do things, and that was from operating systems from when I was a young kid, young lad. And now looking back, I can see how that relates to what my dad was like, firstly. But it can be anyone as well. Like, he had a very strong work ethic. And if any of you relate to that, you'll know what it's like to always be on the go, moving, having to see things, not see things, but like do things. And I valued myself as a human when I'm doing things, not when I'm just like alive and good enough. It was always, you have to be doing something in order to be worthy. And that's not what the lessons they taught me, my parents, that is. This is this is something that my mind has like picked up on and equated. So my dad was always moving. We were moving houses every other year, pretty much. I think I've lived in 12 houses as it is, and each one was a renovation project. So my dad would work like 6 days a week, 5.5 days a week, and then on his off time just worked on the house. So he was always going, and he valued movement, and he valued going up and earning money and doing things like this. But to the, like, that's a very positive thing, but it damaged my sense of self, my sensibilities, because that's all I can see the world through. And now that I don't really live with him, it's like I don't, now there's that, I can see for myself, for my own, through my own eyes and my own thought processes and faculties, that that's just the way that he deals with the world, but it's not how I have to. Like, obviously I want to work hard. I feel like there's a bottleneck right now in here that stops me from doing it. Now you could say, hold up, that's an excuse, you're being a pussy. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Who knows? It's something that I feel is there anyhow. But with Dad, I always looked, he was always doing something, so I had to be doing something. And if I don't do something, it feels like I'm like this. So my base operating sort of safety, where I feel safest, is doing something, even if I don't want to do it. And there's been times where it's like, I want to do it, but I don't. But I force myself to do it. And then at the end of it, it's like, oh, I didn't enjoy that at all. I didn't even get into a flow state because it felt so, there was so much resistance to actually doing the thing, whatever that might be. I mean, renovating this property has been one of them. Like, it's something that, I've been here 3.5 years and it's nearly done, but I know for a fact that this would have been done in a year if my dad was doing it right. So I'm comparing myself a lot here, so I'll try not to do that. But I've realized that that's not how I want to live. I want to do things differently. So it's almost like there's an individualization process going on, or what Jung called, Carl Jung as the individualization process, where you become yourself. Your repressed self becomes more at the forefront of your mind and psyche, and that's where I feel I'm at, which is why I'm questioning these things and trying to probe the depths of myself. So if you look back on your life, try and see the parallels and connections between growing up, your family values, especially your father's values, your mother's values, or whoever your caregiver was at the time. Because when you're a kid, you need parents, obviously, to stay alive. You need them to protect you and to nurture you and to listen and give you the time of day, basically, in order to feel like a worthy human. But if you don't get that, you then feel like you've been rejected by not only your parents, who are like reflections and mirrors of yourself that you can look at, and however they respond, they'll confirm whatever bias or whatever it is about yourself that unconsciously is going in the background. And the world, the world's rejected you if your parents have, even if they don't say it, even if it's like the common one is just a phone. If you see a mother or even a father with a phone and they got a kid, the kid is like, in his mind, that phone is more important than me. Why is that? How can I not be? So it might cry, he or she might be perfect at school, or they might be rebellious. So there's all different mechanisms that your child brain will use in order to feel that the world has not rejected them, i.e. your parents have not rejected them. In my case, it was one parent, but still, I think there's more to it, as always. So, excuse my cold. It's just got cold out of nowhere here. From summer to autumn, it's just like snapped in the last week or so. It's got really cold. So that's one way that your self hides away. It does it to protect you. You might already know that, you might not. So I think it's also why a load of us feel, or not a load of us, but I for one feel as if there's like this weird disconnect with the world and myself. And looking back, I think it is a familial thing, a family one, that somewhere along the lines I had to, it's kind of hard to explain. I felt that I didn't fit in the world because I didn't fit in at my home family when my family was together background. And because of that, now I feel that even more. But to an extent that, because earlier on I was talking about how now that I'm older, I can see the world for myself and I can run things through my own mind and get proper data, I guess, on life itself. So with that in mind, it's now, there's like a pushing happening. And so if anyone has felt that in individualization, or like the process where you think that you've repressed yourself and then you start to push those boundaries and question those boundaries on you that weren't even spoken. They were things which just your mind has picked up on and then used to protect you. And obviously when you're a kid you need that, but when you become an adult you don't. So things like perfectionism or working really hard but avoiding love, avoiding intimacy, avoiding your family, those are they're fail safes now. They don't work. They actually inhibit your life. Like overthinking, like back then it would have worked for whatever the circumstance was, but now when you're older, you overthinking about something you've not done or will do only slows you down. Or even introspection. If you think too much and you're too self-aware, then this is the problem that I get. I think about everything, that you don't do anything because you've already thought of all the possible negative outcomes that could happen, and you know how you're going to fail in multiple ways. So what's the point? There is no point in carrying on if your whole mind is already thought of all the consequences. Not to mention that when you overthink, you just sit down and you get nowhere. by thinking about a problem, you don't solve the problem. It's by actually doing the thing and like tackling the problem head on, that then your instincts and your knowledge and the data you picked up on over your life can come in handy. So the same with rebelling or being a perfectionist. Like if you're going to try art, for example, or music or anything that requires a skill, which is anything valuable, if you're going to try and perfect that, which you should try and master it. But that's the difference. The key word there is mastery or over perfection. Mastery implies that you put so many hours into it, and your muscle memory and the information about that thing becomes so nuanced in your mind and second nature. Basically, it becomes where you can just, let's say you're an artist, you just get a pen and you put it to paper and you draw something. And that's not to say in that specific case that there's going to be a blank page and you're just going to look at it. It's the same if you're a beginner to if you're an advanced person. Then nothing really changes. What changes is that you know, and you create systems in your mind to avoid ruminating on something blank, or like thinking, oh, what should I do? Like, and then that's not to mention how your strokes get better, how the pressure that you apply to the pen is better, your view of negative spaces improves on the page, so you can draw more lifelike or realistic or abstract or whatever art it is. Because perfection is basically overthinking in that sense, or rebelling. Like, that doesn't help anyone. It just means that you are trying to break out of systems which have been placed onto you that you don't agree with. No, that's fine, but you're an adult, or if you're watching, let's say you're an adult, or even if you're a kid, like, rebelling to an extent is okay, but if it's too much, it's unproductive. But you go out and binge drink because your parents didn't want you to. Now you feel rubbish the next day. Or you hook up with someone that you don't actually know or like, and then turn out that they're crazy, or you just don't like them and you feel like less of a person, and then the cycle repeats itself. So these things which were like chains to you, or were like freeing to you at the time, they were helping you survive, keep on working because your mind doesn't know the difference, and you get to now and it's like they're chains now, they're binding you, they're keeping you rooted in place because that is what was safe. But if you stay rooted as an adult, you're gonna wilt. You're like a flower that doesn't get any sunshine, it just droops and dies. There is no homeostasis in biology. We're either growing or we're dying. As a kid, we're naturally growing all the time, literally growing from a baby that you can hold in your hands to a fully functioning adult, 2 legs, has all the faculties that a human would need, and you're still frozen in time in wherever you're frozen to. So if you are frozen as a 10-year-old, as an adult, it's not going to help when you're in a relationship and things start getting rocky. If you regress and start like crashing out or going into a fetal position, whilst he or she, your partner, is like looking on like, well, it's a 50-50 thing, you know? So once you stop growing physically, you need to make sure that you're growing mentally, which is harder because you can't say, oh, I'm mentally 5 foot, whereas last year I was mentally 4'2", you know, and you've grown 10 inches in that time. It's like, it doesn't work like that, which makes anything mental or psychic like difficult to feel as if you're growing. But the only way to grow through is exposure in this case. And with the self, you'll feel what it's like when you're growing, your true self is coming up, because it feels as if the world's very fickle, as I said. Like, you feel different apart from the world because the paradigm you were working in was from the past. It was frozen, it was locked, and now you're breaking out of this, and it almost feels as if you haven't got hard skin. It's like soft, and everything you touch like hurts. It's because you're almost coming out of like a womb again. You're having like a second birth. That's kind of the way that I imagine it. And it will take some time for you to grow that skin, metaphorically speaking, where you can just go out in the world and be with it and not feel like it's always pushing you down or trying to hurt you or something, which is not the case anyway. And if it is, well, I'm sorry. But it can feel responsive as well, because it's like your whole life you've been surviving, and then when you want to do something for yourself, it can really it can just make you feel as if you're not wanted or even part of the world, which is not true. It's just you need to give yourself that time to grow. It's like another one would be a butterfly coming out of a chrysalis. Like, it takes that time to break out of it. But before it was a caterpillar, and now it can fly. Now it's a butterfly, and it's like pretty. And I guess the final note on it, or at least the notes I have, is how we repress ourselves. And in my experience, firstly, it was from my dad, which is why I was explaining it earlier on. We do need to get into that again. I explained that. But parents and caregivers, your primary life sustainers as you're a child, are direct reflections of yourself. So if they're less than adequate, you're going to have a repressed self. I mean, this is really simplified, but that's how that can happen. If they are overbearing, or they don't reflect emotions, or don't let you, for example, get angry, and they're like, no, you can't get angry, that's bad. And you learn that anger is a bad thing. Anger is not. It's just a neutral emotion. It's charged. It's just a charged emotion. But if you're told, no, you can't be angry, you'll go through your life resenting them because you weren't allowed to show your full spectrum of emotion, and that almost represses part of yourself. And then you can get bound by shame, which is what I was talking about in the last video, touched on. And then it feels like your true self goes into hiding, which again, if you're not growing, you're dying. So basically your self dies away. It doesn't disappear, because if that happened, I'm not sure what would happen, to be quite honest. It wouldn't be fun. But yeah, your parents have a huge part to play in that, and whether or not you're allowed to be your true, secure self. The next is like social circles. For me, I got caught up in business and travel, even though I like those things, I guess. They were reflections of my dad's work ethic, and I wasn't even certain that I wanted some of the things that they were striving for. So in effect, I'd just gone from being led by dad to being led by whoever online in order to get the better life, whereas what I didn't really feel that I wanted it, but not enough. And you'll conform to whatever group you're in. So if you're in a business group, you're going to be more business-like, and that's like the advice that you get given anyway. It's good, surround yourself by people you want to be like. But if you're hiding your true self, and your actual self isn't interested in business, you're kind of barking up the wrong tree. But it's just something that you have to go through yourself. And I think the final, I got fat feeling a lack of value at yourself, but that kind of comes as a consequence of not feeling proper, of having yourself hidden away and lying, having to lie your way through life, because being true to you is like, can hurt you, because when you're a kid it hurt you. Well, that was a ramble. I'm not sure if that was coherent at all. I just started rambling. I had a few notes here. I only did it because I had 3 pages that I was just journaling on, and I thought it was quite an interesting topic, something that I'm working through anyhow, and gave me something to do. So I hope you like it. If you did, give us a like. If not, see you around.